the Always Believe House. Today we're going to do Staar Review 29. The greatest part of your week. I know you love these Staar reviews. If you've been doing these Staar reviews every week, you need not worry about your Algebra 1 Staar test. If you can do these problems, it's an automatic guarantee you're going to get commended on your Staar test. If you haven't been doing them, I would go back and try to do like the last 4 of them, okay? So you can get the repetition of these problems down. It's going to make your Staar test on May 5th a piece of cake. So a magical whiteboard appears, and let's get rocking and rolling. This is going to be F-U-N, fun. So let's go. I'm going to do a lot of these problems with you today, just to get you going on these. Okay, let's go to number 1. You're going to be using your calculator some. Remember, this has an exponent of 1. You're going to distribute that 1/3, aren't you? Okay, so we're going to do 8. 1 times 1/3 is 1/3. X, 9 times 1/3 is 3. Y, negative 12 times 1/3 is negative 4. If you punch 8 to the 1/3 on your calculator, you'll get 2. So 2x cubed y to the negative 4. In Algebra 1, usually you write your answer without a negative exponent. So that negative 4 is going to go to the bottom in it. That could be an answer choice on your Staar, or it could be 2x cubed all over y to the 4th. Both of these are acceptable, okay? So you'll do the second one the same way. On this one right here, you're going to graph and hit Control T and get these numbers, right? Get those numbers. So graph, hit Control T, get the table, write down those numbers in there. Piece of cake. Let's keep going to number 3. Okay, you're going to learn about sequences this week. So the first thing we got to do, let's go over here. The 4th is 29. The 5th is 34. The 6th is 39. We got to backtrack and get to the first term, okay? So the third term will be 24. We're just going to subtract 5, aren't we? Okay, so if we go down, we're adding 5. If we go up, we're subtracting 5. So right here, this is my first term. The formula is the first term plus n minus 1 times the common difference. So my first term is 14 plus n minus 1, and my common difference is 5. You're going to learn about that this week, okay? Tuesday you'll learn about series, okay? But you got to know the first term, and you got to know the common difference, okay? Let's go to number 4. Okay, we're going to factor these quadratics. This was the hardest thing you did all year in algebra. Hopefully you're getting good at it. If you can't factor, you need to seriously think about going into pre-AP geometry next year, because they will be doing more factoring than academic, okay? Make sure you can factor good. On this one right here, we cannot take out a common, we can't take a GCF out. So we got to multiply. So 8 times 21 is 166. Now then, that's a big number in it, and we need to subtract that and get 12. So what can we multiply to get 166 and subtract 12? Go to your calculator. We're going to go to graph. And then we're going to graph 166 divided by 6. Remember, menu 3-1 and that F to 1 to X is it showing up. So 166 divided by X, hit enter. Then we can't see it because it's way up at 166. Hit Control T. Now then I get my table of values, and we want to subtract to get 12, I think, right? Subtract to get 12. So we're going to keep going down this until the X and Y subtracts and gives me 12. And does this work? Did I do this right? 8 times 21 is 168. Jiminy crickets. Ugh. 8 times 21 is 168. So let me go back to here. Hit Control T. And then delete. And then 168 divided by X. No wonder. 168. Hit Tab. 168 divided by X. Hit enter. Now hit Control T. I did that on purpose to see if you were paying attention. And we want to subtract and get 12, don't we? Now then, this works a lot better. There's a lot of these that work, don't they? subtract and get 12, that's subtract and get 22. 17, that's 13. Is it going to work? I don't think this works. So we can subtract and get 22, but none of these work, so this is going to be prime, okay? So this one right here will not work. None of them subtract to give you 12, right? If you look at your formula, you can subtract to get 22, subtract get 17, subtract get 13, but we can't subtract to get 12, can we? So if it does not factor, you write down prime. Okay, on the next one, square root, they're both squares, right? So write down 8x and 3. What's 8 times 3? It's 24, right? If I double 24, I get my 48, don't I? So this is going to be 8x minus 3 and 8x minus 3. On your STAR test, they may have 8x minus 3 to the second power, okay? So right here, the key on that is to notice that those are perfect squares. Square root both of them, multiply them, and see if you double to get the middle term. On the next one, these are both perfect squares, but the middle term eliminated, didn't it? Okay, so we're going to write down 6x plus 7 and 6x minus 7. Okay, so the hardest thing on this one was right here. Remember, if we got 8 times 21 is 168. If we got those factors, none of them subtracted and gave us 12. So you would write down prime. Some of the problems on STAR may be prime, okay? That means if we were to graph that and trace, it would be big decimals. It would, in the quadratic formula, the discriminant would not be a perfect square. Let's go to number 5. Just knowing y'all, I'm going to do number, I'll do both of them. I'll be nice. Okay, so we're going to solve for B on this one. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of that 2. So 2 and 2, that cancels out the 2. So I'm going to have 2a equals, and I'm going to bluebell truck the numerator, which is 1, and that's not going to change anything, 5b plus 4h. Now then I'm going to move over the 4h, so I'm going to get 5b equals 2a minus 4h, and then divide by 5. These cancel out, and that's what b is equal to. Remember, you're not trying to get the answer. You're just moving the terms. That makes this so hard because you're not subtracting and adding when you do this, and that's what you've been taught to do. That makes this a little bit more difficult. On this one right here, we want to get the w by itself. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is distribute that 5. So p equals 10l plus 20 plus 6w. Now that I'm going to move these over. So p minus 10l minus 20 equals 6w. Then divide by 6. The 6's cross out. This would be my answer, okay? Piece of cake. Let's keep going. These right here are tricky, okay? On the STAR, they won't be the formula won't be that hard to solve for the variable. Just make sure when you're moving stuff across that you subtract, right? Or you take the opposite of that number, right? Let's go to number 6. Okay, this problem here, this is a 1 and that's a 1. I'm going to distribute the 2. So 4 to the second is 16. X to the 10, y to the 2, all over 10, x negative 3, y 8. Now that I'm going to do this the way the STAR is going to think you're doing it. I would like to get rid of all the negative exponents. That's the way I taught you. This is what the STAR will do. It's the same thing though. You divide these by 2. If you punch 16 divided by 10 on your calculator, it's going to get you 8 over 5. Then you're going to write down x. And you're going to do 10 minus negative 3. Top minus the bottom. Numerator minus the denominator. And then you'll do y 2 minus 8. Okay, this is going to turn into 8 over 5. X, 10 minus a negative 3 is 13. And 2 minus 8 is negative 6. And then remember, this could be the answer, or they could put the y on the bottom. You would get 8 over 5. The x is on top. The y would be on bottom, okay? Very tricky. When you divide, you subtract the exponents. If you do it the way I just taught you, make sure you get your integer math right. Go to the next one. On this one, you would punch that as is into the calculator, and it's going to go straight to the answer. The answer to that would be 16. To write it as a square root, your denominator turns into your root. So I want the third root of 64, and I'm going to raise the whole thing to the second power. So on this one right here, the way the calculator is going to work it, I can make 64 4 times 4 times 4. Since I want the cube root, I'm going to circle a set of 3, not a set of 2. So a 4 would pull out, and 4 to the second power is 16. All you got to do is put that into the calculator, though. That's it. On this one right here, this is it. If you cannot simplify these, don't go into pre-AP. Academic, it'll be a lot easier. You're going to have to simplify a lot of square roots in pre-AP geometry next year. Now then on this one right here, you would punch, go to your calculator. We're going to go to home. We're going to go to Scratchpad, or just to calculate. And then you're going to hit menu, number, and then factor, remember? And we want the factors of 56. And it's going to be 2 to the third times 7. So we're going to write down 3 2s and a 7, right? Okay, so 56 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. And remember, this is the square root. So we're going to circle a pair. I could take a set of 2's out, and then 2 times 7 is 14. So the square root of 56 would turn into 2 times the square root of 14. On the next problem, remember, a negative exponent moves the base to the bottom, so it would do this, wouldn't it? And 15 times 15 is 225. If you were to punch that in the calculator, it goes straight to this. 1 over 225. Please use your calculator. Going to the next problem. I'm not going to do this for you. X makes Y happen. If the first thing does not make the second thing happen, you do not circle it. Most of y'all are getting these correct, okay? There's a couple of them on here where the first thing does not make the second thing happen. You would not circle it. It would not be a function. Let's go to the next one. Okay, we want to find the rate of change. I'm going to do this one manually and one with a calculator. Okay, so to get the rate of change, the Y per X. So my Y is dollars, my X is tacos. Just take the first two. You want to get the difference of these. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 4 minus 2 is 2. My slope, remember, is Y minus Y over X minus X, and that's going to be 5 over 2, right? Since I'm dealing with money, I'm going to make that a decimal. That's going to be $2.50 per taco. Now then on the next one, we're going to run a linear regression. Okay, we're going to use the calculator. This would be real easy to do by hand, but y'all need to get repetition on the linear regressions, okay? So go to your calculator, go to Scratchpad, just where we were, then hit menu. We want to do, I'm sorry about that. Hit the home button. Sorry about that. Now then we're going to remember, this is where we create the table, right? So we're going to click one for new. We do not want to save anything on here, do we? So we're going to click list. If it said save, select no. We want to add a spreadsheet, so do 4. And then remember, the first thing you had to do is go to the top and put X in, and then go to the top at B and put Y in, right? And don't put anything in those gray rectangles. Below the X and Y, you put nothing in those gray rectangles. Now then I'm going to put in my X's. So 8, 10, 16, 20. So 8, enter, 10, enter, 16, enter, 20, enter. Hit the right arrow button, go up. And then I'm going to put in my Y's. 280, 450. 280, enter, 450, enter. And then, sorry about that, 720 and 900. 720, enter, 900, enter. Okay, so I have my table put in there, right? So you got to put the table in. Then this is where you have to hit all these buttons, okay? Make sure you're paying attention. This is a super duper easy way if they give you a table to get the equation. So you're going to hit menu. Remember, we want to do stats, which is 4. Then we want to run a stat calculation, which is 1. And then remember, we wanted mx plus b, which is 3, the linear regression. You can also notice do a quadratic regression with this. And you can also do a exponential regression. So if you have a scatter plot that looks like a parabola, you could run a quadratic regression on that. You can also run the exponential regression, okay? We're only doing linears here, but on the Staar, they could want a quadratic or an exponential. Okay, so we're going to do a linear, which is 3. And then you're going to put x down, y down, and then when you're here, you just hit enter. And notice I have my numbers over here on the right, don't I? And I hope I put these in right. Oh, I did 450. That shouldn't be 450, should it? Yeah, 280, 450, 720, 900. That's it. Okay, so my first tire is going to cost, or my slope is going to be 49.83, and this right here is my starting number, negative 85, okay? So right here, I'm looking at my slope at 49.83. And notice this table is probably messed up, okay? 49.83, 280, did I put that in right? 280, 450, 280, 450, 8, 10, 16, 20, 280, 450, 70, yeah I did, so it's messed up, okay? This table probably doesn't have a correct constant rate of variation. So 49.8, so put M equals 49.8, and B equals, it would be what, negative 85.47? Which means they'd be giving it away. So this table was probably messed up when I did it, okay? If we did the first two, though, we would get what? 480 to 250 is 170, and then this would be 2. If I divided it, I would get 135, wouldn't I? And then this right here is not going to be 135, okay? So I messed up when I made the table, all right? If you did the first two, though, the slope would end up being 135. This does not have a constant rate of change, so I messed up when I made the table. Let's go to number 9. Please don't miss these on the test. Draw a picture. So in this problem, we're going to draw a picture, draw an xy axis, and 2, 3 would be up here, wouldn't it? The line is parallel to the x-axis, so it does this. So the equation of the line, that line does not cross the x-axis, does it? It crosses the y-axis, and it crosses the y-axis at 3. And the slope would be 0, wouldn't it? Okay? Please don't miss this on the test. Draw the picture, then write down the equation. Okay, let's look at the next one. Draw an xy axis. Negative 2, 5 would be up here somewhere, wouldn't it? Now then the line is perpendicular to the y-axis. If it's perpendicular to the y-axis, it goes through the y-axis. So it looks like the same thing as the above one, right? The equation of the line, it's not going to be x equal. It's going to be y equals 5, doesn't it? And the slope is going to be 0 again. What's the slope of the next following lines? A y equals slope has a line of 0, and an x equals slope goes up and down. It has a slope of undefined. Or no slope, right? It's no slope or it's undefined. Piece of cake. Turn the page! Hopefully you're getting these down. Okay, right here, this is when we're going to do the linear regression, okay? This is going to be a lot simpler than the other one. I'll do one of them with the linear regression for you, okay? So let's hit the linear regression. So we're going to go here. We're going to hit the home button. Now then we want a new document, so 1. We do not want to save it, so click on the no. We want to add a spreadsheet, do a 4. Put X and Y at the top. Do not type anything into the gray spaces, and then let's put our data. So we're going to do the top one, negative 4, 6, 10, 20. Negative 4, 6, 10, 20. If you're watching this, please do this with your calculator so you can get the hang of doing it, because you've got to do this over and over for it to sink in. On the Staar, you can't use your notes, okay? You're going to have to know how to do this. Now then we're going to go up to row 1 in the B column. And now we're going to put in our B's, which are what? Negative 17, 8, negative 17 and 8. And then 18 and 43. Hopefully I made this table correctly, okay? So negative 4, 6, 10, 20. Negative 4, 6, 10, 20. Negative 17, 8, 18, 43. Okay, I got my table in right. Make sure the numbers are put in right or it won't work. Now then we're going to run a linear regression. Remember, this will also do quadratic and exponential. I'll try to give you a couple of these before Staar so you can see how to do them, okay? So let's hit menu. We're going to run we're going to do stat. Then we're going to run stat calculation of 1. And then this is a linear regression 3. And when you get to here, X down, Y down, enter. X down, Y down, enter. X down, Y down, enter. Don't forget that. So X down, Y down. And right here it's just highlighted, hit enter. You don't want to change anything else. Boom. My M is 2.5 and my B is -7. Does everyone see that? My M is 2.5, my B is -7. And remember, if we go down to R, the R is 1 in it. Since R is 1, all of those dots are perfectly on the line, okay? That's why that table works. So 2.5 and -7. So I'm going to go up to here, put M equals 2.5, B equals -7. Now then, to change 2.5 to a fraction, I'm going to put 25 over 10, because it's 2 5/10, and that's going to turn into 5 over 2. Okay, so my equation and slope intercept would be y equals 5 over 2x minus 7. So I'm going to write that down. Now then I need to change this to standard. So to make it standard, remember we can't have a fraction. So get rid of the fraction, distribute the denominator. The 2's cancel out. So I'm going to have 2y equals 5x minus 14. Standard form, my x goes to the left. So negative 5x plus 2y equals -14. The x is negative, so flip all the signs. 5x minus 2y equals 14 is the equation. So 5x minus 2y equals 14. That will be my, or this should be an equation 1. So 5x minus 2y equals 14. That's a lot simpler than getting the slope using the table and using point slope. Okay, much simpler. Let's go to number 11. This is where you're going to have to use point slope, okay? You got to get the hang of this. So right now, I know my slope is 3/4, and I want a perpendicular slope. So I'm going to do a opposite reciprocal. So my new slope will be -4 over 3, right? Now then, this is my x and this is my y. So I'm going to do y minus y over y1 equals m and then x minus x1. I'm going to use point slope, right? So y, the opposite of 11 is minus 11, equals -4 over 3 parentheses x. The opposite of 15 is a minus 15. Now then, when I get to here, the first thing I do, I taught you get rid of the fraction. So the fraction's 3, 3, 3, and 3, right? The 3's cancel out, and this -4 goes to the right, doesn't it? So the denominator goes to the left, the numerator goes to the right. So I'm going to get 3y minus 33 equals -4x plus 60. Now then, move this over every time. So I'm going to add 33, and I'm going to get 3y equals -4x plus 93. Divide by 3, and I'm going to get y equals -4 over 3x, sorry about that, -4 over 3x, and then plus 93 divided by 3 is 31. So that's my y-intercept form, right? Now then, I'm going to take this equation, 3y equals -4x plus 93, and to make that standard, just move the x over. So 4x plus 3y equals 93. Boom, that's my standard. Ho, 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 ho. That's probably the hardest thing you did in the fall semester. It's the most steppy in it. A lot of steps there. The more you do it, the easier it gets, though, okay? If you were doing all of the Staar reviews, this isn't that hard, okay? Keep going down. Number 12. This is the hardest thing you probably did in the spring. It's the most steppy, okay? So this is my point, and this is my vertex. Okay, remember the vertex form was y equals x minus h squared, or it's a right here. Let me put the a in. Plus k. Now then, if you notice, I know the y, the x, the h, and the k. I do not know a. So I got to set this up and find out what a is. So my y is 30. I do not know what a is, parentheses. The x is 2. The h is negative 6, but when I put it in, I'm going to do opposite, plus 6 squared, plus, and the k is negative 2. So 6 plus 2 is 8, and 8 squared is 64. So 30 equals 64a minus 2. Okay? I'm going to move the 2 across, so I'm going to add 2. So 32 equals 64a, divide by 64. So my a is equal to 1/2 in it. Now then I can write down my vertex form, right? So y equals 1/2 x, my h is 6, so plus 6, and my k is minus 2. So that's the vertex form, okay? Now then I'm going to take this, and remember, x plus 6 squared is this in it. And you got to do those arches. Remember the arches? So I'm going to go down to here, and I'm going to flip this to standard. So the 1/2 drops, and I'm going to square, multiply, double. So x squared is x squared. 6 squared, skip a spot, is plus 36. And then I have the minus 2. Now then, 6 times x is 6x. If I did the arches, I would have two 6x's. If you double 6x, you get plus 12x. The next step, this is not easy, is to distribute the 1/2. So I'm going to get y equals 1/2 x squared plus 6x plus 18 minus 2. All I got to do now is the 18 minus 2. So 1/2 x squared plus 6x plus 16. That would be the standard form. And remember, the 16 is the y-intercept. It's a lot of steps, okay? Watch through the video again if you need help, okay? Let's go to the next one. I'm only going to do one of these for you, okay? Let's do this one. Okay, really quickly, this is a reflect across x-axis. This right here would be a vertical compression or a horizontal stretch, right? If the number's inside the parentheses, usually they do the horizontal. So this is making the parabola wider in it. So you're horizontally stretching it. So I'm going to write down horizontal stretch. And remember, the plus 5 is left or right, but it's opposite. So the opposite of plus 5 is minus 5. That's going to be left 5. Piece of cake, okay? See if you can finish the last ones up. Number 14, convert the quadratic to standard. So remember on this one, I'm going to do one of them for you. You got x minus 4 times x minus 4. I'm going to drop the 1/2, parentheses, square, multiply, double. So x to the second is x squared. Skip a spot. Negative 4 to the second power is plus 16. Drop the plus 7. Now then multiply and double. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x, which is what you would get on the arches, wouldn't you? You would have two negative 4x's minus 8x. Now then I need to distribute the 1/2, don't I? So 1/2 x squared minus 4x plus 8 plus 7, just group these up. 1/2 x squared minus 4x plus 15, and remember the 15 would be the y-intercept. Piece of cake. Oh. One more thing on this one right here. Hopefully you know the vertex is at 4,7. Okay, remember how to get the vertex from that, okay? You can do the second one on your own. We are almost done. I'm going to do some of these solvings. This was not easy to do. Okay, on this one right here, I could move the 20 over and graph it and trace to the x-intercepts. We're going to do this with square roots, and I need to hurry because we're running out of battery. So x plus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 20, and then I'm going to move the 5 over. That would be the answer. Let's go to the next one. We're going to factor this. So the factors of 28, this is going to be x minus 7 and x plus 4. These are the factors, and remember the zeros are opposites. So my zeros are going to be x equals 7 and negative 4, aren't they? Going to the next one. Okay, on this one we're going to use the quadratic formula because the factors of 17 won't subtract to give us 8. So write down b squared minus 4ac. So it's going to be negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 17. So 64 plus 68. And that's going to be 132 in it. Okay, so we're going to write down negative b, which is negative 8, plus or minus the square root of 132 all over 2 times 1. And this will turn into 8 plus or minus the square root of 132 all over 2. Now then, if you were to punch this in the calculator, you would get the decimals, wouldn't you? I'm running out of power, so we're going to go on. Okay, really quickly, given the exponential, complete the table and graph the function. So this right here is my 0 term, right? I'm going to put 4 here. Then I'm going to multiply by 0.7. So let's graph this, and we're going to do 4 times 0.7 to the x. So hit the home button, B for graph, and then hit Control-T to get rid of that table. Hit delete to get rid of the graph. Hit Tab, and then it was what? 4.7 to the x. So 4 parentheses 0.7 close parentheses caret x. That gives me my exponential function. Hit Control-T, and I could get my table, can I? Okay, so there's my table right there. Those are the numbers I'm going to put in the calculator, right? So these are the numbers, 8.16. So 8.16. Negative 1 is 5.714. And then 5.71. And then 4, and then 2.8. And then 1.96. So notice the numbers are getting smaller. It's going to cross the 0 at 4. And it's just going to do this, right? Okay. Let's go over here. The y-intercept of the graph would be 4. It represents the initial amount. Hopefully I can finish before the battery goes out. The common product is 0.7. The domain, if we look at the table, the domain goes from here to here, doesn't it? So your domain would go from negative 2 to positive 2. And the range would go from 8.16. I'm sorry, it goes from small to big. It's going to go from 1.96 to 8.16. Now then, if you looked at the whole graph, the domain would be all real numbers, and the range would be y greater than 0, right? Because the x-axis is the asymptote, right? And that's a y equals 0 line, wouldn't it be, okay? Hopefully you've enjoyed doing this. I've done a lot of these problems for you. You're going to do wonderful on May 5th on this STAR test if you've been doing these. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Finish this up. Submit it by Friday for 5 extra points. Remember, you are amazing. You were created to do wonderful things, and you are awesome.